Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This is Christopher Aaron. It is late on the 24th of August into the early morning hours of the 25th. And wouldn't you know it, when I returned from my holiday in the mountains of New England here, I came back to a hardware system that has crashed. So, I am on a backup system right now, which means I do not have access to my typical video editing software. I do have access to the most important thing, which is my charting system. But you are going to see in this video a look at the raw charts with no fancy graphics and no animations. So, thank you for being with me. Let's look at what's happening here in gold, because this is very important right now. All eyes are on the gold market. The gold market is what is leading the precious metals complex right now. Silver is following gold in more exaggerated directions. The mining sector is all clued into gold as well. And here is why. We are nearing a resolution of this generational bull flag pattern. And many people are watching this. This is a very powerful pattern that is setting up here, with a 10-year rise, a 5-year gently sloping retracement, which should then be setting us up for something like another 10-year rise, taking us well to new all-time highs at some point in the next several years. And that is why this line that we're looking at right here is being defended so strongly by the bears right now. We zoom in to this action right now and we look at gold. Here was that same blue line. This is now being shown in magenta color. We're zoomed in one level, and you can see the number of hits that have been showing up on this line. 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 4 or 5 hits right in here over the last week. Every time that we saw gold getting up to 1355, boom, it was smashed back down. So the bears, those investors who are looking to profit from a fall in the price of gold, are doing their best to sell as many contracts as they possibly can right now in the futures market to keep the price of gold below this line, because they know, as do I and some of you out there, that when this bull flag pattern resolves itself, there's going to be a springboard effect coming in here. We will see a surge when this line is broken that will happen in no uncertain terms. There will be some sort of a retracement after the surge happens, followed by a resumption of the bull market. This could play out over the next 6 to 9 months or so. Now, as investors, we have to do our best to try to understand what is going to happen and not just look at what has happened. So we turn now and we say, coming into the September time period, we've seen this summer consolidation here. Basically, gold has gone nowhere since the Brexit vote from 2 months ago. And we are coming into what happens to be the strongest month of the year based on seasonal data for gold. We're looking at that being September. Why is September the strongest month of the year for gold? It has to do with demand coming out of India prior to the Indian wedding season, which is in October. So, how much demand is coming into India out of India? This is an extreme amount of demand. It dwarfs all the coins, all the bars that are being purchased by investors such as ourselves out of the United States or Europe or Australia or Great Britain. And demand in India for this time period is so great. Now, this data came back from 2012 because I don't have access to my latest charts on my system, but I believe the Indian and Chinese demand has swapped here. I believe China is now number 1, but India is right behind it here, up above 800 tons per year, far dwarfing any of the other countries, and the bulk of this demand happens during the month of September. That's what accounts for the spike that we see here. So we are entering the strong time period for gold, and we have to say, if gold has been consolidating for the summer during the weakest time period, and there is the strongest month coming up of the year, this gives us a very strong probability that we will see this breakout at some point during the month of September. That is my best guess at this point for when we will see this break. We also see that gold is basically sandwiched at this point between strong support here between 1285 and 1306, which represented this resistance level that held gold back for about a year and a half, that was decisively broken and has already been tested once. So we can see the downsloping here meeting with this resistance, at the same time meeting with the uptrend from the low from December of last year. So there's these converging trend lines, and when these trend lines converge, by definition, one of them has to give way. So we're watching for that now, and the bears are doing their absolute best to try to keep this pattern from resolving and try to keep gold just meandering and meandering lower. I do not believe they'll be successful. Switching over to look at silver just briefly, as we said, it's following gold, but much more exaggerated right now. And on days like today, where the stock market and other commodities such as oil were down, silver tends to fall more than gold. On days where the commodity and stock markets are stable and gold is rising, we will see silver rising faster than gold. Silver had broken through the minor support level here that was holding for the last 7 weeks and is now coming back into very significant support here dating back for about 2 years. All these hits at this level that held silver back between 1750 and 1850 over the last 2 years are now going to act as support as we see second chance buyers coming in when they missed the opportunity at this breakout. So my best assessment is that silver will be finding its low. If it hasn't found it already, it will be finding its low somewhere here, $1 lower than current prices, perhaps down to $17.50 for a low. We also see the rising trend line meeting nicely at this point sometime in September here in the upper 17s. We can also see silver has been surging versus the rest of the commodity complex, letting us know, aside from here the last couple of weeks, letting us know that something is happening to silver and also to gold, which is unique to the precious metals. We see gold basically the highest it has ever been this last 6 months versus the rest of the commodity complex. And something is absolutely happening here to the monetary component of these commodities that is different from copper or oil at this time. So hopefully by next week, my primary workstation will be fully functional again. We'll have a bit more in depth on the action in gold. For those of you who are invested in the mining sector and you're seeing the volatility, and boy, across the sector, a number of these stocks were down 5, 6, 7, 10% today. This is the kind of volatility you will see 10% moves in either direction on a regular basis in these stocks. So just get ready for this, because it's going to get even more exaggerated when gold breaks higher. And we will see the net result being these gains. But if you mistime the purchases in the short run, you can be in an uncomfortable position as you have 10 or 20% losses go against you. So this is why I always recommend, if you are considering this sector that I do believe is going to offer some serious life-altering gains if this pattern sets up here, the proper way to go about it is to dollar cost average your way over a period of time. Never try to pick the exact moment to put all of your capital to work. That's what we did over the last 6 months, and if you're just joining us now, that's what you should do as well. So let's look for this breakout here in gold. Thank you again for tuning in, and thanks for everyone that sent me emails over the last week while I was on vacation. I really appreciate that. And feel free to leave any comments below. I do try my best to answer as many as possible. And mind you, when this pattern here breaks, the surge that we will see in gold is not going to be subtle. This won't be a $10 or a $15 surge that leaves people guessing, did this breakout occur? This is going to be a surge that really spikes higher in one day, and then over the course of the week after that, we'll probably see something like a $50 to $100 confirming move when this breaks. My best estimation is that this is coming in September. Thank you. Have a lovely evening, and I will see you next week.